In his report submitted to the leadership of the People's Democratic Party on Wednesday in Abuja, the 2019 Elections Review Committee had recommended that zoning of the party's presidential ticket for the 2023 elections should be discarded. According to the committee's submission, the findings were based on the fact that Nigeria boasts of many persons capable of bailing the country out of the current socio-political economic quagmire. Effectively, Nigerians from all regions of the country should be allowed to contest for the presidential ticket. Now joining us to dissect the import of the panel's recommendation and how this could affect the fortunes of the main opposition party in the 2023 general election is the Deputy National Secretary of the PDP, Dr. Emmanuel Agbo. Dr. Agbo was also a member and secretary of the PDP 2019 Elections Review Committee that just submitted its report. Welcome to the program, Dr. Agbo. It's good to see you again. Good morning.
Thank you. It's a pleasure having me.
Yes, well, very quickly, you were secretary of that Bala Mohammed committee that reviewed the 2019 general elections and how the PDP fared as a major political party. But what is out there in the public domain and which has become controversial is a recommendation of that committee that PDP should jettison the idea of zoning, which was in fact an original idea brought into the polity by the People's Democratic Party. Now, how did the committee arrive at that decision? What were the considerations? And are there other key recommendations made by that committee that the public is not aware of because of this controversial point about zoning?
Well, thank you. I want to believe it's my friend and brother, Ruben Abati, who is online with me.
Yes.
Good. I want to thank, first of all, the leadership of the party for that very golden opportunity for His Excellency Bala Abdulkadir Mohammed's committee, CON committee, to look into the details of the 2019 presidential elections, particularly. And in the process, to try to see what we can do differently as we move towards 2023, and that's supposed to be down the roadmap. Part of it came in as the recommendations that you just talked about. We want to take you a little back to pre-1999. We, as a nation, passed through, in 1993 precisely, an election that was adjudged free and fair, but that was annulled by the military. It created what you can refer to as some degree of despondency that resulted in some agitations in the Southwest, leading to the formation of NADECO. That bitterness and ill feelings was fundamentally a part of the Nigerian nation state until we got into 1999. Elders and leaders of this country and nation came together and felt that there was the need to critically look in that direction and look for someone, and a statesman, someone of a statesman quality that will lead this statecraft, this ship, drive the ship to a unity and economic prosperity that resulted in all that transpired and then the emergence of His Excellency and our leader, Olusegun Obasanjo. We are, as a nation, again at the crossroads. And the committee, in the discharge of its assignment, came clearly with that Nigeria is at the brink. We are at the precipice. And any other tilt, any other little push, very frankly, my friend and brother, is going to take us into some catastrophes that we do not pray for. And so, in the considered view of the committee, notwithstanding that there were submissions as to we have a 6 geopolitical structure in this country, and moving moving back in the last 30, 40 years, 2 of these zones came out very clearly that they have not had a stint in the presidency of this country. That is, whether it was in the military or it's in the, in a democratic setting. And these 2 zones were, 1, the southeast and the northeast. But for consultations across the country, greater consultations across the country with stakeholders, party across boards, and all members of the party still came out with this, that we are at a time that we are not seeking or asking for a regional leader. What Nigeria deserves and demands now is a unifier in chief. My brother, you recalled online just yesterday and the day before that there were already a 72 hours ultimatum given to another section of this country by another section to vacate their committee. These were the things at the course of the assignments of this committee that we met. Trust is generally broken down. Confidence amongst component parts of this country is broken down. Economy is a terrible disaster. We have been plunged in and out, and getting deeper and deeper into recessions of all kinds. Unemployment is at its worst. And so, in the considered opinion of leaders of this country, notwithstanding whatever we were confronted with as in, yeah, we have 6 zones, 2 has not had a dink at it, but what the country needs now is a detribalized Nigerian with strong character and will to unify the entire country, and above all, to build trust and confidence again in one Nigeria, in all components of Nigeria, devoid of religion, ethnicity, or tribe. And this called for the fact that at this point in time, just like in 1999, we had a solution peculiar that we needed to solve. The peculiar situation of our time now, ranging from insecurity, deprivations of all kinds, hunger, deaths, people are killed, maimed on a minute basis, in hundreds, in thousands, and yet nothing is either being done or being said about it. We must move from this. It is about time not only we apply the brakes, but we must go into a total reverse gear. A total U-turn to move Nigeria from where we are going.
Absolutely.
And so please, these were the very conditions that confronted the committee at the point of that decision making after wild and due consultations to say, okay, look, let's throw the net open to all the zones and now do serious search in terms of the leadership recruitment on the basis of capacity, on the basis of ability, on the basis of a great Nigerian, a statesman with unifying qualities.
It sounds a lot like you have somebody in mind, and that has been mooted, actually, by those who are rejecting this. You're throwing the field wide open. They claim that you have 2 people in mind, that all of this is for the benefit of 2 people and not for Nigeria as a whole. And as I was saying earlier about this decision, and yesterday about this decision, is the PDP not failing to read the room and read the current temperature of Nigerians? You refer to the precipice that we are dangerously close to. And a lot of the reasons why we are at that precipice is to do with a lack of inclusion and a sense of marginalization. So is PDP not going to miss a trick here by failing to attend to that? Because surely the job of a political party is to serve the people and to give the people what they want. We're going on a break now, I'm told, so you can take the answer after the break, sir. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. We're still with Dr. Emmanuel Agbo. Dr. Agbo was a member and secretary of PDP's 2019 Elections Review Committee that just submitted its report Sir, before we went on the break, I was asking if you had any particular detribalized Nigerian in mind, because you described the profile of preferred candidates so vividly and in such detail. And also I was asking you, you made reference to the fact, unarguable fact, that Nigeria is approaching a precipice if we have not already arrived there. So the reasons behind that precipice, should they not be analyzed by PDP? And should PDP not give the people what they're clamoring for?
First, let me thank you for this question and to state very clearly that neither the committee nor the party, the People's Democratic Party, as it stands today, has any candidate in mind. No preferred candidate in mind. If we had any, it was easy for the committee to look for how to justify it and first of all narrow in terms of now zoning to where such a candidate comes from. But if you look at it very critically at the work in terms of the in-depth work put into the assignments by members of the committee, particularly when it had to now do with the way towards 2023. And going by all that you and I agree today exists in this country in terms of the need to radically and in 360 degrees do a U-turn from this disaster we call government to that which will bring back Nigeria into our good old days. We need to do a holistic search across the entire length and breadth of this nation. Shutting out anybody can no longer be described as all-inclusive. And I'm happy you used the word all-inclusive in your question. Now, if we are in any way making reference to the fact that, yes, there are general clamor and agitation for in terms of the North-South divide, the proposition today by the PDP does not foreclose the candidacy of the party going either to the South or to the North. And that is why it is widely thrown open. What is uppermost in the minds of the party and the committee is that in the search for such leader, we must have the leader in the mold that will bring Nigeria together, that will rescue Nigeria. Because you will agree with me that a lot of institutions have been compromised and deafened and in fact coerced into total and absolute silence in the face of what is a near totalitarian government, where blood spillage is like pouring water after you have washed hands. And so we can now reduce, the search for leadership is a fundamental of time, of the necessities of the times. And all the issues that are going to be addressed in the search for this new leader will be built into it when the time comes. In terms of it has to satisfy, take for instance, I started by telling you in 1999, same PDP went all out to satisfy a particular agitation that was almost tearing Nigeria apart at that point in time, consequent upon the annulment of the 1993 general elections. The times are now slightly different. We have a hydra-headed enemy bedeviling and diminishing the entirety of this country called Nigeria. And we must address that question through a leader that is purposeful, that is going to be all-encompassing, that at the end of the day, once we have moved this country out of the quagmire that we find ourselves now, now we can say, yes, at the time we were here, that problem is solved. Before we got here, we had these inadequacies. These people were not represented. These people were not, in the last 10, 20 to 25 years, had a shot at it. And then we can begin to now, once again, satisfy whatever you can call to regional balancing. But at the point in which you and I are today, we must agree. If that Nigerian is in the ocean, we must have to go to the ocean to bring him. If not, you will wake up one morning and Nigeria will be history. And I think we are not praying for that.
Sir, I mean, I don't get your drift. Is it that you are saying that that same detribalized, harmony-oriented leader can't come from the south-south or southeast? And secondly,
that's what I'm telling you.
No, hang on a minute.
Such a leader can come from the south-south.
I'm still asking my question, sir. I'm still asking my question. Just hang on, sir.
All right.
That's the first question for you. Is it that that leader can't come from the south-south or southeast? Can't you zone it to that place? And secondly,
why not?
Correct me if I'm wrong. 1979 electioneering process was not a joke. There was a deliberate attempt, and that's why we saw the likes of a Philip Omedi running mate to Awolowo and Alex Ekweme just about 9 years after the war ended to be able to bring this country back again. And that's why we saw the likes of Udumegwu Ojukwu being part of the election process in '83 to be able to rein things in. A lot of people, and the sentiments across board, if you read the room, is, why is it that when it's the turn of the south-south and the southeast, that's when the PDP is reneging on this gentleman's agreement? That's, if you read the room, that's the tension, that's the narrative, that's the sentiment. Take it from there, sir.
Well, I want to again thank you and to sincerely appreciate you, because this, in my consideration, an opportunity to dispel whatever is, I want to consider as rumors or whatever you say is the narrative out there. Today, as we speak, the detribalized Nigerian that we are in search of can come from anywhere. And we are praying and believing God that he will raise him from anywhere in this country. And he will stand out like that shining star. And everybody will know that, yes, this actually is who we need at this point in time for this job. The problem we have on hand clearly as a nation overwhelms any regionalization of the leadership of this country. If you attempt it now, we'll be drifting ourselves. You might be solving one smaller problem and creating a greater and bigger problem. But I agree with you that even in the report of that committee, as part of our findings, as part of our day-to-day, through the consultation processes, that it was clear that, yes, moving 30, 40 years back, whether military or civil, that 4 out of the 6 zones have produced or have had a test at the presidency. And that 2 zones stood out that have not. Then the question now is, with this, satisfying this as a problem, national problem that you and I agree we have, does that solve the larger insecurity problems? Does that solve the trust problems? Does that solve the confidence problems? Does that solve the economic problems? 33% of our able population today unemployed. Are we trying to solve just that? Yes, the presidency is now being moved from place to place, and at the end of the day, our problems remain with us, or you and I wake up 6 months, 1 year down the line, And we may not even get to that 2023, the rate at which things are going. Because the general prayers of all Nigerians is that since we are running a constitutional government and the only opportunity for change is through the boss, electoral boss, that God should, a very thin thread holding the firmament of this country together today. And in the search for that true leader that will now unite, build us together, and pull us out of this doldrum, it can definitely, at this point in time, based on national demand, come from anywhere. And I agree with you. The committee agrees with you. And that's why we came all out to say, come, look, in the consultation processes, this came out clear. But the present scenario and situation we find ourselves as a nation, the search, even southwest, north central, northwest, northeast, what is important is, can we truly bring ourselves back together again as one nation? And then thereafter say, look, yes, before we got to this point, we had a problem. That problem is solved, and then we need to go to the next stage of the problem to solve it. So it's not intended throwing it open to shut anybody out at all. To the contrary, is to give us the opportunities to look in details to those that are going to come from the very zones you and I are talking about today. And to do comparative analysis with whoever is going to be thrown up from any of the other 4 zones of the country.
Well, Dr. Agbo, we had a member of the...
I think that the Times actually call for a true nationalist other than any regional-oriented leadership.
Well, yes, the ideal is to have someone become president of Nigeria on the basis of merit and patriotism. But we had a guest yesterday, a member of the APC, Daniel Bwala. And what he said in response to this same question about zoning is that the PDP is just trying to be strategic, trying to fly this kite, idealistic kite, so that it can buy time, the party can buy time to spy on the APC, what the APC will do. And it was certain that eventually the PDP is not going to talk about any merit. It will eventually do what it thinks is most expedient. I don't know whether you share that view. But I had asked you earlier that, yes, the focus in the newspapers is on what the committee recommended about zoning. But part of the assignment of that committee was to find out why the PDP lost the presidential election in 2019, although PDP moved from 11 states to having governors in about 16 states. But what were the specific findings of that committee with regard to PDP's performance and lessons, possible lessons that the party may have learned? But we need to take a short break, and then when we return, you'll get a chance to respond to those issues that I have raised. We'll be right back. Please stay with us, Dr. Agbo. Welcome back to the morning show here on the Arise News channel. Our guest is still Dr. Emmanuel Agbo, member and secretary of the PDP 2019 Elections Review Committee and deputy national secretary of the party. Dr. Agbo, thank you for staying with us. Now, before we went on break, I'd asked you about the cynicism of a guest we had yesterday saying that, well, PDP is just being strategic. Nobody should believe all this story about emphasizing merit. And then secondly, what did you find? What did your committee find in terms of why the PDP lost the presidential election in 2019?
Let me take the questions like in the order that they have come. I think, and I'm sorry to say this, it is about time that the press do the needful to save Nigeria. And what do I mean by this? These funny characters in APC must be avoided like lepers. You people are patronizing them to the detriment of the oneness and the greatness in this country. You appreciate with me that enough of falsehood and propaganda, the very foundation upon which they found themselves where they are. And Nigeria knows better now where we are. And he has certainly no iota of how Nigerians bleed in agony over the maladministration and total ineptitude and inefficiency that they have brought upon this country. And so when PDP is talking about trying to look for a unifier, a galvanizer, and a true patriot, a nationalist that will move Nigeria forward, and you give him your platform to come and say we are telling lies, we want to spy on APC. Is there anything there out there still called APC to be spied upon? Spy upon total disaster and failure? We have better things to do as a nation. And honestly, I am urging the Nigerian press to join in the work. We must do away with these charlatans. And I have no apologies for the choice of these words. They brought us to where you and I are describing as the worst period, the lowest ebb in the history of mankind. We became the headquarters of poverty under this administration. On the average, per every 1 single thousand, the world over, the greatest number of man-caused death to man is in Nigeria under this administration. And you give them your platform to come here and to say that people who are genuinely trying to rescue this nation, searching for a true nationalistic leader across the globe, across the country, and he's given the opportunity to come and say PDP is telling lies, they are trying to buy time to spy. Spy on what? Spy on failure?
Well, Doctor...
I mean, no, he hasn't finished.
Things, my brother.
I think you should finish. What lessons have you learned as a party in the PDP? Because that was the original purpose of that committee.
My brother and my friend, the original intention of that committee before the second aspect is the way forward, which we are now discussed in the last couple of minutes. It's embedded in that committee, in the report. And you will appreciate with me, the report will be officially made public, but that singular aspect that you seek and act now is for the consumption of the leadership of the party in trying to navigate its way towards 2023.
Right, sir. That was quite an impassioned rebuttal, but I'll leave that to, the usual thing you expect from politicians from opposing parties. You've made reference here to the search for a true nationalist. Is there going to be a search for a true federalist? Because the real issue here is restructuring, is it not? What commitment can PDP give that is really number one priority for your party?
I can assure you that the last constitutional conference in this country was convocated by a PDP government. In part of the recommendations of this same committee is that either we visit that 2014 constitutional conference and begin to implement its recommendations, or to reconvocate yet another constitutional conference with all component parts of this country. And that's about the only way that we will strengthen the bond of unity and love that will give us that golden opportunity again to strive at greatness as a nation. And so, completely and totally, without paying any form of lip services, the party believes that, yes, we can't be doing the same old things and expect any new results. Nigerians have spoken very loud. The general agitation is not to dismember the nation, but to see it to a certain level of devolution of power and authority. And yes, this is on the table for the party. Nigerians must kill all of us. We're going to get to the talking table together. And whatever we are going to resolve therefrom is going to be the collective will and aspiration of us as a people and as a nation. Everything that draws us back, we must drop it. And so, if when the party makes the entire report of public consumption, you will see that in totality and wholly, we stand by it because that's about the only way for this country to move to greatness.
Okay. A lot has been said today, but one takeaway will be, what are the new solutions your party will bring to the table? I've heard myriads of political parties talk about solutions. Everybody says we'll fix security. Everybody says we'll fix the economy. Everybody says we'll fix the welfare of Nigerians. But it just ends up to be electoral promises and nothing is done. And as the year goes by, Nigeria gets poorer and most insecure. What are the new solutions?
Dr. Agbo, you have just about 1.5 minutes.
I'll tell you.
If you can be brief. Just about 1.5 minutes.
I will tell you in just one simple sentence, my brother. Today, you and I have no nation. That which is new that the party PDP is going to bring on the table is to again redeem the soul of this country. Give Nigerians again a nation as a platform for self-excelling, for national engagement and national development. And all other issues of insecurity, economic downturn, everything will disappear and fizzle out. We've been there for the last 16 years. You attest to it. This was not the route. This wasn't the road we went. And so the first thing anybody should talk, under what we have today, no miracles can be done. But we must first of all rescue Nigeria. We must first of all give back to ourselves a nation called Nigeria, under which all the problems will be solved and settled.
Well, Dr. Agbo, thank you very much for joining us. But before you go, a parting shot. You were very critical of the media. Well, on this side, our platform is open to all parties, anyone who has anything to say. We're non-affiliated and we're completely neutral and open-minded. So it's not about APC or PDP. That's not our objective. Our own objective is to keep the people of Nigeria informed. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us.